गिरिधारी श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरन मोहन जू की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत स्मर शिल भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज शिल गुरुदेव की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत स्मर शिल भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत स्मर शिल भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत स्मर शिल भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत स्मर शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत शिल गोरक्षदास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्ट शिल सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम शिल जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूपनो गौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल पतदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गोपाल शाद वृंद की जाय। नाम श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदाता गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री मुनि देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Hari bol, everybody. Dandavat pranams. So as you can see, I'm driving in a car right now. Hopefully I don't get car sick reading. Let me share my screen with you. I just left some place. That's why I'm late today. Alright. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chashurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripandubhya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Navadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandaya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tar Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravrjantam Virahakatara Ayuhava Putreti Tavobhinedu Stangarva Bhutta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskrit Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamurayet Shinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vedantasto Yabadrani Vedisurit Satam Nashta Prayeshvabadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavasmi Tavaivasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvang Nayamang Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Kshiptashtakama Ditaranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charana Ravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Alright, so yesterday, let me look at the comments. 1 second. Where is it? There. Dandavat Pranams, Gargaraji, Rup Manjari Didi, Ganga Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Madhavi Didi. Yes, Rupa Manjari, I am in a car. Indira Mataji, it's cutting? Oh, God. Anyways, okay, now it's good. Alright. Yeah, I'm just driving to, I was staying at Yashodanandan Prabhu's place, Justin Connor, and now I'm driving to where my parents are staying. My dad's driving me right now. So, yesterday we read, so having described the 3 ashrams of renunciation, brahmachari, vanaprastha, and sannyas, Narad Muni now explains the path of a householder engaged in worldly activity according to time and place. So let's just read over the verses. We read up to verse 14, I think, right? So, King Yudhishthir asked Narad Muni, "Please explain to me how we, who are staying at home without knowledge of the goal of life, may also easily obtain liberation." Then Narad Muni replied to Maharaj Yudhishthir as follows. Householders must act to earn their livelihood, but they should offer the results to Krishna and worship great devotees. With faith, one should constantly hear the nectar of the Supreme Lord's activities in various incarnations. By hearing in good association in satsanga, one gradually develops detachment as he becomes detached from family affection, exactly like a man awakening from a dream. He should earn only as much as required. He should live unattached to family affairs, although externally appearing very much attached. Gurudev used to say that, right? I remember on a morning walk, I heard about it because I wasn't allowed on morning walks, but he said to Giritari, he said, should we appear like a devotee or should we appear like a materialist? And he said, well, it should look like a devotee. And he said, no, it should be, I remember that. Sorry, I'm not getting it exactly right. Whatever. Okay. He should keep life simple. He may externally agree to the suggestions of relatives, but internally determined not to create a cumbersome life. An intelligent householder must perform his daily and occasional duties by utilizing whatever is created by the Supreme Lord, and that comes from divyam, or the sky, like rainfall, bhomam, or earth, like mines and fields, and antariksham, or atmosphere, obtained unexpectedly. One may claim proprietorship to as much wealth as required to maintain body and soul together, but one who desires more is a thief, and deserves to be punished by the laws of nature. So we shouldn't accept more than we need. One should treat animals, birds, and flies exactly like one's own son. So note, like children, the unintelligent animals are also sons of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, a Krishna-conscious person should not discriminate between them. Human society should not consider itself the only enjoyer of all the proprieties of God. Animals also have a claim. But they didn't write mosquitoes. This wrote flies.
Continue on South Crenshaw Boulevard for 2 miles.
Even if one is a householder, one should not endeavor very hard for dharma, artha, and kama, and be satisfied with whatever is available with minimum endeavor. Even if one is a householder, one should not endeavor very hard for dharma, artha, and kama, and he should be satisfied with whatever is available with minimum endeavor, according to place and time, by the Lord's grace. A householder should contribute for the maintenance of even dogs, fallen persons, and untouchables. Even one's wife should be engaged in receiving guests. One is so possessive about his wife that he sometimes kills himself, his parents, or even Guru for her sake. If one can give up his attachment to such a wife, he conquers the unconquerable Supreme Lord. So even when Narad Rishi is talking about gṛhastha life, he's already talking about renunciation. He just can't not speak about renunciation. By deliberation, one must give up attraction to his wife's insignificant body, which will ultimately be transformed into worms if buried, stool if disposed, or ashes if burned. What value is the wife in comparison to the all-pervading Lord? All right, so that's where we read up to. Your wife's just going to turn into worms, stool, or ashes. So give her oh my God. Yes. That's not a Rishi's style. Okay. Haribol, Prajumna Prabhu, and Mantra Murti Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. Alright, so where are we? That was verse 14. Just like Narad kept on converting Daksha's sons into renunciates. That's what Narad Rishi does. Alright. Siddhar Yagava. Sorry. Let me try that again. Siddhar Yagavashishtarthai Kalpayed Vrittamatmana Sheshe Svatvang Tajam Pragya Padavem Mahatam Iyat. An intelligent person should be satisfied with eating prasad, food offered to the Lord, or with performing the 5 different kinds of yajna, panchasuna. By such activities, one can give up attachment for the body and so-called proprietorship with reference to the body. When one is able to do this, he is firmly fixed in the position of a Mahatma. Purport. We have 4 more verses about the gṛhastha ashram, and then forgot what the next topic is. Anyways, yeah. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Nature already has an arrangement to feed us. By the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is an arrangement for eatables for every living entity within the 8,400,000 forms of life. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. Every living entity has to eat something. And in fact, the necessities for his life have already been provided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord has provided food for both the elephant and the ant. All living beings are living at the cost of the Supreme Lord, and therefore, one who is intelligent should not work very hard for material comforts. Rather, one should save his energy for advancing in Krishna consciousness. All created things in the sky, in the air, on land, and in the sea belong to the Supreme Personality, and every living being is provided with food. Therefore, one should not be very much anxious about economic development and unnecessarily waste time and energy with the risk of falling down in the cycle of birth and death. Devan Rishin Bhutani Pitrin Atmanaman Vaham Svavritya Gatavitena Yajeta Purusham Pritak. Every day, one should worship the Supreme Being who is situated in everyone's heart. And on this basis, one should separately worship the demigods, the saintly persons, ordinary human beings, and living entities, one's forefathers and oneself. In this way, one is able to worship the Supreme Being in the core of everyone's heart. Okay, but we're not worshiping them separately. We're worshiping the Supreme Being in the core of all of their hearts. Right? That's interesting. Yar hyatmano dikaradhya sarvasyor yagyasampada vaitanike navidhina agnihotradhina yajet.
Turn right onto the I-10 West ramp.
When one is enriched with wealth and knowledge which are under his full control, and by means of which he can perform yajna or please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one must perform sacrifices, offering oblations to the fire according to the directions of Shastras. In this way, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. If a gṛhastha, or householder, is sufficiently educated in Vedic knowledge and has become sufficiently rich to offer worship to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he must perform yagyas as directed by authorized scriptures. Bhagavad Gita 3.9 clearly says, Yagyartat kamanonyatra loko yam karma bandhana. Everyone may be engaged in his occupational duties, but the results of these duties should be offered for sacrifice to satisfy the Supreme Lord. If everyone is fortunate enough to possess transcendental knowledge, as well as money with which to perform sacrifices, one must do it according to the directions given in the Shastras. It is said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 12.3.52, Kriteya dayato vishnung tretayam yajato makai vapare paricharyayam kalo tad harikirtanat. The entire Vedic civilization aims at satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This was possible in Satya Yuga by meditation upon the Supreme Lord within the core of one's heart, and in Treta Yuga by the performance of yagyas. The same goal could be achieved in Dwapara Yuga by worshiping the Lord in the temple, and in this age of Kali, one can achieve the same goal by performing Sankirtan Yagya. Therefore, one who has education and wealth must use them to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by helping the Sankirtan movement that has already begun, the Hare Krishna movement, or Krishna consciousness movement. All educated and wealthy persons must join the movement, since money and education are meant for service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If money and education are not engaged in the sword, these valuable assets must be engaged in the service of Maya. The education of so-called scientists, philosophers, and poets is now engaged in the service of Maya, and the wealth of the rich is also engaged in Maya's service. The service of Maya, however, creates a chaotic condition in the world. Therefore, the wealthy man and the educated man should sacrifice their knowledge and opulence by dedicating them for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord and joining the Sankirtan movement. Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. Nahyagni Mukato Yang Vai Bhagavan Sarvayagya Bhuk Ejeta Havisha Rajan Yata Vipra Mukhe Hutai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, is the enjoyer of sacrificial offerings. Yet, although his lordship eats the oblations offered in the fire, my dear king, he is still more satisfied when nice food made of grains and ghee is offered to him through the mouths of qualified brāhmaṇas. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.9, Yagyartat kamanonyatra loko yam karma bandhana. All fruitive activities should be performed for sacrifice, which should be directed towards pleasing Krishna. As stated elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarva loka maheshwaram. He is the Supreme Lord and enjoyer of everything. However, although sacrifice may be offered to please Krishna, he is more pleased when grains and ghee, instead of being offered in a fire, are prepared as prasad and distributed, first to the Brahmins and then to others. This system pleases Krishna more than anything else. Furthermore, at the present time, there is very little chance to offer sacrifices by pouring oblations of food, grains, and ghee into the fire. Especially in India, there is practically no ghee. For everything that should be done with ghee, people use a certain type of oil preparation. Oil, however, is never recommended for offering in a sacrificial fire. In Kali Yuga, the available quantity of food, grains, and ghee is gradually diminishing, and people are embarrassed that they cannot produce sufficient ghee and food grains. Under the circumstances, the Shastras enjoin Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. In this age, those who are intellectual offer yagya, or perform sacrifices, through the Sankirtan movement. Everyone should join the Sankirtan movement, offering to the fire of this movement the oblations of his knowledge and riches. In our Sankirtan movement, our Hare Krishna movement, we offer sumptuous prasad to the deity, and later distribute the same prasad to the Brahmins, the Vaishnavas, and then to the people in general. Krishna's prasad is offered to the Brahmins and Vaishnavas, and the prasad of the Brahmins and Vaishnavas is offered to the general populace. This kind of sacrifice, chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and distribution of prasad, is the most perfect and bona fide way of offering sacrifice for the pleasure of Yajna, or Vishnu. I like that purport. Tasmad brāhmaṇa deveshu martyadishu yatarhata taistai kamar yajasvainam kshetragyam brahmanam anu. Therefore, my dear king, first offer prasad unto the Brahmins and the demigods, and after sumptuously feeding them, you may distribute prasad to other living entities according to your ability. In this way, you will be able to worship all living entities, or in other words, the supreme living entity within every living entity. I just remember Vangsi Bodhan Prabhu, he said in his village in Orissa, there was like the high class, like the top Brahmins there in his village, and everybody would want to feed them, and he's super fat, like very fat, and they would want to feed him so much that, and he just keep on eating and eating to the point like where he couldn't even stand up, and he would just lay down there, right there, with his plate there and his hands unwashed and like that, and he would just like pass out, and his sons would actually have to like take each leg and each arm. There'd be like 4 people to like carry him out. Anyways, sorry, I just wanted to mention that. Okay, purport. To distribute prasad to all living entities, the process is that we must first offer prasad to the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas, for the demigods are represented by the Brahmins. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart, will be worshipped. This is the Vedic system of offering prasad. Whenever there is a ceremony for distribution of prasad, the prasad is offered first to the Brahmins, then to the children and old men, then to the women, and then to animals like dogs and other domestic animals. When it is said that Narayan, the Supreme Being, is situated in everyone's heart, this does not mean that everyone has become Narayan, or that a particular poor man has become Narayan. Such a conclusion is rejected herein. Srila Prabhupada mentions the Daridra Narayan thing so much. That was like a really prominent thing at that time, huh?
That Gandhi introduced.
Oh, Gandhi introduced. Okay. That's why. Okay. That makes more sense now. Because I was wondering, why does he keep on bringing up Daridra Narayan? But it's not, I guess, as much as a thing now as it was then. Or maybe it is a thing now. I don't know. Kuryad aparapakshiyam masi proshta pade dvija shadham pitroryata vittang dhunam chavittavan. A Brahmin who is sufficiently rich must offer oblations to the forefathers during the dark moon fortnight in the latter part of the month of Bhadra. What month is Bhadra? Rupmanju, you know that probably. Bhadra is... What is it? July, maybe? My dad thinks maybe July. Similarly, he should offer oblations to the relatives of the forefathers during the Mahalayak ceremonies in the month of Ashvin. There's a footnote there, but we can't see it. Let me take it out of this view. Ayane Vishuve Kuryad Vyatipate Dinakshaye Chandradityo Paragyecha Tashyam Shavaneshu Cha Tritiyayam Shukla Pakshe Navamyam Atakartike Chata Srishvapyat Ashtakasu Hemante Shishire Tata Maghecha Sita Saptamyam Magharaka Samagame Arakaya Chanumatyacha Masarkshani Yutanyapi Dadashya Radhasyach Travanas Tisra Uttara Tisrishvekatishi Vasu Janmarksha Shrona Yoga Yuk. One should perform the Shad ceremony on the Makar Sankranti, the day when the sun begins to move north, or on the Karkata Sankranti, the day when the sun begins to move south. Makar Sankranti is January 14th, is it?
January 14th, 15th, yes.
I think it's mostly the 14th and sometimes it's the 15th. One should also perform this ceremony on the Mesha Sankranti day, or the Tula Sankranti day, in the yoga named Vyatipata. On that day in which 3 lunar titis are conjoined during an eclipse of either the moon or the sun, on the 12th lunar day and in the Shravan Nakshatra. One should perform the ceremony on the Akshay Tritiya day, on the 9th lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month of Kartik, on the four Ashtakas, in the winter season and cool season, on the 7th lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month of Magh, during the conjunction of the Magha Nakshatra and the full moon day, and on the days when the moon is completely full, or not quite completely full, when these days are conjoined with the nakshatras from which the names of certain months are derived. One should also perform the Shad ceremony on the 12th lunar day when it is in conjunction with any of the nakshatras named Anuradha, Shravana, Uttar Falguni, Uttarashada, or Uttarabhadrapada. Again, one should perform this ceremony when the 11th conjunction with either the Uttara Falguni, Uttarashada, Uttarabhadrapada. Finally, one should perform this ceremony on days conjoined with one's own birth star, Janma Nakshatra, or with Shravan Nakshatra. Got that? Purport. The word ayan means path or going. The 6 months when the sun moves toward the north are called Uttarayan, or the northern path, and the 6 months when it moves south are called Dakshinayan, or the southern path. These are mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 8:24-25. The first day when the sun begins to move north and enter the zodiacal? Okay, the zodiacal sign of Capricorn is called Makara Sankranti. That's when my niece was born, right? She's born on Makara Sankranti.
14th, 15th, yes.
And the first day when the sun begins to move south and enter the sign of Cancer is called Karkata Sankranti. On these 2 days of the year, one should perform the Shad ceremony. Vishuva, or the Vishuva Sankranti, means Mesha Sankranti, or the day on which the sun enters the sign Aries. Tula Sankranti is the day on which the sun enters the sign Libra. Both of these days occur only once within a year. The word yoga refers to a certain relationship between the sun and the moon as they move in the sky. There are 27 different degrees of yoga, of which the 17th is called Vyatipata. On the day when this occurs, one should perform the Shad ceremony. A titi, or lunar day, consists of the distance between the longitude of the sun and that of the moon. Sometimes a titi is less than 24 hours. When it starts after sunrise on a certain day and ends before sunrise on the following day, the previous titi and the following titi both touch. They touch the 24-hour day between the sunrises. This is called gṛhastha, or a day touched by some portion of 3 titis. Srila Jiva Goswami has given quotations from many shastras stating that the Shad ceremony of oblations to the forefathers should not be performed on Akadashi Titi. When the Titi of the death anniversary falls on the Akadashi day, the Shad ceremony should be held not on Akadashi, but on the next day, or Dvadashi. In the Brahma Vaidvarta Purana, it is said, Ye kurvanti mahipala shraddham chaitadashi dine trayaste narakam yanti data bhokta chapreraka. If one performs the Shad ceremony of oblations to the forefathers on the Akadashi Titi, then the performer, the forefathers for whom the Shad is observed, and the Purohit, or the family priest who encourages the ceremony, all go to hell. Ta ete shesa kala nrinam shreyo vivardhanam kuryat sarvat manaiteshu shreyo mokham ayusha. All of these seasonal times are considered extremely auspicious for humanity. At times, one should perform all activities, for by such activities, a human being attains success in a short duration of life. Purport. When one comes to the human form of life through natural evolution, one must then take the responsibility for further progress. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:25, Yanti Devam Vrata Devan. One who worships the demigods can be promoted to their planets. Yanti Maj Yajino Pimam. And if one practices devotional service to the Lord, he goes back home, back to Godhead. In the human form of life, therefore, one is meant to act auspiciously in order to return home back to Godhead. Devotional service, however, does not depend on material conditions. Ahaitaki apratihata. Of course, for those who are engaged in fruitive activities on the material platform, the times and seasons mentioned above are extremely congenial. Eshu snanam japo homo, vratam deva dvijarchanam, pitrideva nriputevyo, yadhatang tad dhyanashvaram. During these periods of seasonal change, if one bathes in the Ganges, in the Yamuna, or in another sacred place, if one chants, offers fire sacrifices, or executes vows, or if one worships the Supreme Lord, the Brahmins, the forefathers, the demigods, and the living entities in general, whatever he gives in charity yields a permanently beneficial result. Samskara kalajayaya apatya syatmanastata preta sangsta mritahascha karmanya bhyudaye nripa. O King Yudhishthir, at the time prescribed for reformatory ritualistic ceremonies for oneself, one's wife, or one's children, or during funeral ceremonies and annual death ceremonies, one must perform the auspicious ceremonies mentioned above in order to flourish in fruitive activities. Okay, this is in order to flourish in fruitive activities. Purport. The Vedas recommends many ritualistic ceremonies to be performed with one's wife, on the birthdays of one's children, or during funeral ceremonies. And there are also personal reformatory methods, like initiation. These must be observed according to time and circumstances and the directions of the Shastra. Bhagavad Gita strongly recommends Gyatva Shastra Vidhan Noktam. Everything must be performed as indicated in the Shastras. For Kali Yuga, the Shastras enjoin that Sankirtan Yagya be performed always. Kirtaniya Sada Hari. All the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Shastras must be preceded and followed by Sankirtan. This is the recommendation of Srila Jiva Goswami. Preceded and followed by Sankirtan. We don't really precede this Bhagavatam reading with Sankirtan, do we? Well, we do in our Mangalacharna, we say the Mahamantra. Atadeshan pravakshyami dharmadeshaya avahan savai punyatamo desha satpratram yatra labhyate bimbam bhagavato yatra sarvam etacharacharam yatraha brāhmaṇa kulam tapo vidya dayanvitam. Oh, and also reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is Sankirtan. Srila Prabhupada says again and again. We've arrived. Anyways, I'm going to read this translation. Narad Muni continued. Now I shall describe the places where the religious performances may be well executed. Any place where a Vaishnava is available is an excellent place for all auspicious activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the support of this entire cosmic manifestation, with all its moving and non-moving living entities. And the temple where the deity of the Lord is installed is a most sacred place. Furthermore, places where learned Brahmins observe Vedic principles by means of austerity, education, and mercy are also most auspicious and sacred. Okay, I'm going to... What time is it? It's 6:10. What verse are we reading up to? We're reading up to 33. What verse are we on now? Oh, dang it. I didn't mean to do that. Stop! Okay. We are on 28. Wow, close to the end. Might just sit in the car and finish.
Okay, 208.
Yeah. All right. In this verse, it is indicated that a Vaishnav temple where the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is worshipped. Yeah. Okay. In this verse, it is indicated that a Vaishnav temple where the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is worshipped, and where Vaishnavas are engaged in the service of the Lord, is the best sacred place for performing any religious ceremonies. At the present day, especially in big cities, people live in small apartments and are not able to establish a deity or temple. Under the circumstances, therefore, the centers and temples being established by the expanding Krishna consciousness movement are the best sacred places for performing religious ceremonies. Although people in general are no longer interested in religious ceremonies or deity worship, the Krishna consciousness movement gives everyone the chance to advance in spiritual life by becoming Krishna conscious. Yatra yatra harerarcha sadesha shreyasang padam yatra ganga dayo nadya puraneshu chavishruta. Auspicious indeed are the places where there is a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, in which he is duly worshipped, and also the places where the flow of the celebrated sacred rivers mentioned in the Puranas, the supplementary Vedic literatures. Anything spiritual done there is certainly very effective. Purport. Let me just see the comments. Is everything stable? Well, no. Also, though, it said for fruitive results or something like that. Didn't it say something like that? Okay. Oh. Okay. Purport. There are many atheists who oppose the worship of the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the temple. In this verse, however, it is authoritatively stated that any place where the deity is worshipped is transcendental. It does not belong to the material world. It is also said that the forest is in the mode of goodness, and therefore, those who want to cultivate spiritual life are advised to go to the forest. Vanam gato yad harim ashrayeta. But one should not go to the forest simply to live like a monkey. Monkeys and other ferocious animals also live in the forest, but a person who goes to the forest for spiritual culture must accept the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as shelter. Vanam gato yad harim ashrayeta. One should not be satisfied simply to go to the forest. One must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, therefore, since it is impossible to go to the forest for spiritual culture, one is recommended to live in the temple community as a devotee, regularly worship the deity, follow the regulative principles, and thus make the place like Vaikuntha. The forests may be in goodness, the cities and villages in passion, and the brothels, hostels, and restaurants in ignorance. But when one lives in the temple community, he lives in Vaikuntha. What does Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur say? Jedina grihe bhajana deki grihete goloka bhai. When I see bhajan, when I see worship being performed in my house, the whole place becomes Vaikuntha. It becomes Goloka. Therefore, it is said here, Shreyasadam. It is the best, most auspicious place. In many places throughout the world, we are constructing communities to give shelter to devotees and worship the deity in the temple. The deity cannot be worshipped except by devotees. Temple worshippers who fail to give importance to the devotees are third class. They are Kanishta Adhikaris and the lower stage of spiritual life. As it is said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11.2.47, Archayam eva haraye pujam yashadayate natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sa bhakta prakrita smrita. That person who worships Haraye, Archayam, who does worship Archan of Haraye, of the Lord, Pujam, and worships like that, with faith, Shraddhayate, but not tad bhakteshu chanyeshu, but so they worship the Lord in the temple, but not tad bhakteshu, they don't worship his bhakteshu, his devotees. Sa bhakta, that devotee, prakrita smrita, should be understood to be prakrita, materialistic, kanishta adhikari. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but does not know how to be toward devotees or people in general, is called a bhakta, or a Kanishta Adhikari. Therefore, in the temple there must be the deity of the Lord, and the Lord should be worshipped by the devotees. This combination of the devotees and the deity creates a first-class transcendental place. Aside from this, if a gṛhastha devotee worships the Shalagram Shila or the form of the deity at home, his home also becomes a very great place. It was therefore customary for members of the three higher classes, namely the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, to worship the Shalagram Shila, or a small deity of Radha and Krishna, or Sitaram, in each and every home. This made everything auspicious. But now they have given up the deity worship. Men have become modernized and are consequently indulging in all sorts of sinful activities, and therefore they are extremely unhappy. According to Vedic civilization, therefore, the holy places of pilgrimage are considered most sacred, and still there are hundreds of thousands of holy places like Jagannath Puri and Vrindavan, Haridwar, Rameshwar, Prayag, and Mathura. India is the place for worshipping or cultivating spiritual life. The Krishna consciousness movement invites everyone from all over the world, without discrimination as to caste and creed, to come to its centers and cultivate spiritual life perfectly. All right, so we're ending with this. What happened? It lost my spot. Let me find it. We're on 30 to 33. Okay, we're ending with these verses here. Sarangsi pushkaradini kshetranyarha shritanyuta Kurukshetram gayashira prayaga pulahashrama naimisham falgunam setu prabhasota kushastali Varanasi madhupuri pampa bindu sarastata Narayanashramo nanda Sitaramashrama Sarve kulachala rajan Mahendra malaya daya Ete punyatama desha harer archa shritaschaye etan deshan nisheveta shreyaskamo hyabhikshnasha dharmo hyatre hita pungsam sahasradhi phalodaya. All right. The sacred lakes like Pushkar and places where saintly persons live, like Kurukshetra, Gaya, Prayag, Pulahashrama, whatever, Naimisharanya, the banks of the Falgu River, Setubanda, Prabhas, Dwarka, Varanasi, Mathura, Pampa, Bindu Sarovar, Badarikashram, Narayanashram, the places where the Nanda River flows, the places where Lord Ramachandra and Mother Sita took shelter, such as Chitrakut, and also the hilly tracts of land known as Mahindra and Malaya. All of these are to be considered most pious and sacred. Similarly, places outside India where there are centers of the Krishna consciousness movement and where Radha Krishna deities are worshipped must all be visited and worshipped by those who want to be spiritually advanced. Did Srila Prabhupada add that? Let's see. One who intends to advance in spiritual life may visit all these places and perform ritualistic ceremonies to get results 1,000 times better than the results of the same activities performed in any other place. Wow. One who intends to advance in spiritual life may visit all these places and perform ritualistic ceremonies to get results 1,000 times better than the results of the same activities performed in any other place. Let's see, though, about where the Krishna consciousness movement, where Radha and Krishna deities are worshipped outside of India. I'm just curious. Okay. So it says, Hare of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Archa Ashrita, places where the deity of Radha and Krishna are worshipped. Okay, so places such as big American cities like New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, and European cities like London and Paris, or wherever there are centers of Krishna consciousness. So it says wherever there is a deity, and Srila Prabhupada said like here and here and here and here. Purport. In these verses and in verse 29, stress is given to one point, Harer Archashitash Chaye, or Harer Archa. In other words, any place where the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by devotees is most significant. The Krishna consciousness movement is giving the population of the entire world a chance to take advantage of Krishna consciousness through the ISKCON centers, where one may perform deity worship and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and in this way obtain results with effectiveness increased 1,000 times. This constitutes the best welfare activity for human society. This was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, as it was predicted by him in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Antya 4.126. Prithivite ache jata nagaradigram sarvatra prachara hoibe moranam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted the Hare Krishna movement with installed deities to spread to every village and town in the world, so that everyone in the world might take advantage of this movement and become all auspicious in spiritual life. Without spiritual life, nothing is auspicious. Moghasha mogakarma no moga jnana vichetasaha. That's Bhagavad Gita 9.12. No one can become successful in fruitive activities or speculative knowledge without being Krishna conscious. As recommended in the Shastras, everyone should be very eagerly interested in taking part in the Krishna consciousness movement and understanding the value of spiritual life. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All right. So that's our reading for today, ending a little bit short today. And what will we read tomorrow? Let's just see quickly. So we finished this, the times and places suitable for religious activities. Now tomorrow, we'll be reading the importance of worshipping the deity, the brāhmaṇa, and Acyuta. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is the best recipient of all offerings. Deity worship is introduced for neophyte devotees who cannot properly appreciate other devotees. Oh wow, it gets into that here also. And then Brahmins are the best and are worshipped even by Krishna. And so we'll be reading that, and that's the end. We don't actually have that much more left in the chapter, so we'll also be reading some of chapter 15. So that's the rules for Vedic rituals and transcending them, avoiding irreligion and cultivating satisfaction, processes of conquering anarthas and the glories of a guru, process of liberation for the householder. We'll be reading all about this, instructions for the civilized human beings. And that's the last chapter of this canto. We're nearly finished with the 7th canto. There's a chance I might not be able to read tomorrow because I am driving up to Badger. And I won't be able to record in the morning and have it play the live video because I have a cheaper plan now on this Restream program that I'm using, and it doesn't let you make post pre-recorded videos. But I'll let you know though in our WhatsApp group. Also, if there's anybody who wants to join our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam WhatsApp group, send me a private message and I will give you the link. I just post when I'm going live there and what we're reading that day. And sometimes though different devotees post things related, like Indira Mataji will post pictures. Also Rup Manjari sometimes post pictures related to what we're reading and stuff. So. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govana Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shatashmar Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Guru Dev Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shatashmar Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shatashmar Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shatashmar Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shatashmar Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Shila Satchidananda sorry, spaced out. Nitil Pravishta Shila Mahabhagavat Shila Gorkshadas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Shila Bhakti Balavatirtha Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Shila Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Shila Bhakti Pramod Puri Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Parashad Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parashad Vrinda Ki Jai Namachay Shila Hairas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaur Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Parata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai Shri Mona Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Shri Nitai Go Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashta Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Bhya Vacha Patitanam Pavane Bhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, Indira Mataji, that's no problem. That's good. I mean, if I'm in Badger before 5:30, then I'll do the reading. Or if we end up staying another day in LA, then I'll also do the reading. But if we're in the car, then yeah, there's nothing I can do. I'll let you guys know though if I'm gonna skip that day in our group. All right, Dandavat pranams everybody. Haribol. There's some fun comments here, but anyways, okay. Haribol. Jai Shri Radhe.